You've probably heard about Baja Gold Sea Salt, and maybe even watched a few video reviews comparing it to Redmond's and pink Himalayan salt. But what if I told you that there's another side to Baja Gold that no one's talking about? A side related to soil health, animal fertility, and the cleanest lab testing practices in the game. I'm going to share this information with you, not as someone who's just bringing you information about Baja Gold, but as someone who's been using Baja Gold's sister company C90 for several years and buying product not by the individual bag, but by the pallet. Hi everyone, I'm Arland Hill, your health-focused rancher here at Harvest Hills Ranch, and today we're diving into Baja Gold, but not from the perspective of the typical hype, affiliate codes, and trendy comparison charts that you'll often see, but from the perspective of real-world application on our ranch, in our diet, and seeing the outcomes with this product being used on a routine basis. We're going to talk about what really makes Baja Gold stand out above other products that are out there. For any of you that are new to Baja Gold, let's make sure you have a good understanding of just some of the key points that others do talk about that make this product different. The first is that this product comes from the Sea of Cortez. This is considered one of the cleanest bodies of water in the world, and therefore the salt that's extracted off of it, well, that makes sense as a logical clean starting point. So there's a really key reason right there. The next is that when you're sourcing from a natural body of water, the number of minerals that you're going to have access to is going to be greatly increased. So this is a liquid solution that they have, and actually, just to show you guys that I've been using this product for a while, this is actually an older bottle with an older label on it that I had still in our cabinet. But this product actually has boron in it. So just to show you the diversity of minerals that you can find in this, not just simply your common electrolytes like sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, magnesium, the ones you typically think about, these products go far, far beyond that. In addition, Baja Gold is going to be lower in sodium compared to other sea salt options. Most sea salt options out there are going to be 93% plus, at least 90% plus of sodium chloride, whereas when you look at Baja Gold, it's going to have a much lower sodium content in it. It's going to be down around 75%, and so that automatically says that you're going to have a higher concentration of other minerals, so there's going to be a greater diversity of other health promoting minerals that are in there. One of the things you also want to note about this is that when it comes to toxicity, you're going to have low toxicity levels here, so it goes back to that clean water aspect on this. Now, of the products that are out there, typically the comparisons that you will hear about are Redmond, pink Himalayan, and Kalima. Now, personally, the only one of these that I have any association with is the Redmond, and I'm certainly not going to say anything about Redmond. We actually use Redmond products, some Redmond products with our cattle, and so I do think that Redmond certainly is a good company, still has value out there, and again, I won't speak to the other ones because I don't have any knowledge around them. But when it comes to salt directly by the numbers, Baja Gold, and again, its sister company's product, C90, is what's sitting in our animal's trough. Many will talk about the flavor and the benefit of this enhancing flavor. It absolutely does that. That is one of the things that I appreciate about having this product in our personal food and when I cook and prepare with it. And so it does have a really nice flavor associated with it. But keep in mind that these are the things that you can see elsewhere in other videos. I want to really highlight for you what's different about this product, and that's where we're headed now. Clean salt isn't just about where the product comes from, it's about how the product is handled. And there's 2 points here that I think really make Baja Gold stand out compared to other salts that are generally out there. When we talk about the handling on this, Baja Gold doesn't have any bleaching. There's no anti-caking agents that are used in the product. In fact, when I get the big 50-pound bags of the C90, and again, it's essentially the same product. If you're looking at the contents, the mineral formulations, it's pretty close to the same thing. But a lot of times there will be big clumps of salt in there, and we just break those up when we put them in the trough. But it just goes to illustrate clearly that there's no anti-caking agents in the product. There's no refining of any sorts. So right out of the gate, again, it's not just about where you're sourcing it from, it's about how it's being handled even after you've sourced it and allowed it to flood these beds that they use, these salt beds, and then to dry off, to have solar evaporation, where you've got a salt and then they come back behind that and they collect the salt. That speaks to the cleanliness of how this product is being handled. But here's the bigger point, and this is point 2, is that it's one thing to say that and to illustrate that, but it's another thing to actually put your product to the test. And this is one of the things that I absolutely appreciate about Baja Gold as well as C90, is that I can go to their website and I can pull laboratory reports where they've sent these samples to credible third-party laboratories. And I'm not a person that gets really all into the wording of third party, because there are limitations around third party, but just from my other professional endeavors and having understanding about what makes a laboratory a good quality laboratory and knowing who some of the better laboratories out there are, I can see that Baja Gold / C90 are sending their samples to these quality laboratories, and when those reports come back, you as the consumer can get onto their website and look at those reports and see for yourself, checking for heavy metals, checking for the toxic compounds, so pesticides in there, glyphosate, for example. You can look for yourself and validate with your own eyes that these are not found in that product, and it's a clean product. It's not just saying it, it's actually believing enough in your product that you're willing to put it to the test and put those results out there for the consumer to see. Everything I've shared with you so far sounds great in theory, but does it actually make a difference anywhere? And let me give you the real life application of this from our use on our ranch. Again, I use this in my home, and we were using C90 in our home even before we knew about Baja Gold. We didn't know that they were sister companies, but Baja Gold, C90, sister companies. And so when we order these 2,500 pound pallets of C90 in, we're predominantly using this in the livestock. And so here are my observations after several years of using it in livestock. So I use a regenerative philosophy in how I manage our pastures, how I'm moving the animals using continuous or using daily grazing, daily rotational grazing, moving them around continuously. And what I can share with you by having the trough that keeps C90 and follows and moves with the herd every day is that we don't have disease throughout our herd. We don't have pink eye. I don't use vaccines in our herd. I don't use any type of wormers or anything that would potentially have the likelihood of introducing toxicity into that animal. So no vaccines, no toxicity, no wormers, none of the stuff that you think about with conventional livestock management. So the point here is that you cannot do that unless the nutrition is optimized for the animal. And so having an availability of minerals with them all the time is what makes that difference. And even with things in the spring like grass tetany, right now, we've come out of the spring. We're in the early summer at this stage right now, and we've made it through another spring where we've had this lush grass just take off, beautiful green everywhere, and the animals are grazing across that, and we've never had any issues with grass tetany. And so that just illustrates to us that they are getting the benefit of the minerals on a consistent basis. One of the things that I've done, and you may find this interesting, just to illustrate a change that I've made, is that I used to put out troughs that had individual minerals in them that also followed the herd around on a daily basis. And we transitioned away from that to C90, and I always wondered, would there be a problem there in doing that? Would they end up missing out on a particular mineral? And they've never had an issue since I've made that transition. And in fact, their salt utilization, they typically are consuming a consistent amount and getting a complete array of minerals, as opposed to just feeling the need to go in and source one mineral really aggressively, which we would see them do from time to time. But it's not just about the animals. It's also about the pastures here. So this is the other part of what I've seen, is that last year was the first year that we spread C90 on our pastures. And you may be thinking, you spread salt on your pastures? Yes, I did. And I did it in two different ways. Part of our pastures, I did it with, I diluted it with water and put it out with sprayers, and it was just the salt and the water, and that was it. And then the other way is I actually had a seeder is what it was, but a rotary seeder, but it just threw it out and broadcasted it out. And we didn't see any difference in terms of one application method versus another. But what I can tell you is that we did have the best production of hay last year that we've had to date on the ranch. And so take that for what it's worth. I'm just, case study of one here. And I can tell you about how much we produce year over year, and all this stuff is dependent on having adequate rain and all these other variables. But we did have a bumper crop of hay last year. And this year we've got really good grass production coming out of the gate, given that we have ample rain too, right? So there's all these variables. So that's some real life application. We've seen it make a difference in terms of our animals' health. Now, while I've shared with you what my observations have been and what I've seen on my ranch, the real question you're asking yourself is, well, how does that all benefit me? Well, let's talk about that. The number one thing here is that you're getting a source of salt that is as clean as you're going to find. And it has a mineral balance that is optimized for your overall health. There's a great diversity of minerals in here. You're not just getting sodium chloride or extremely high amounts of sodium chloride. You're getting other minerals in there as well. They're going to ultimately help balance out the overall needs of the body. This is truly what you could think about as a functional food for a lot of different reasons. But if you just frame up salt not simply as a flavoring agent, even though it's great at doing that, that's just an added benefit there. Think about salt as a functional food to help you optimize all the facets of your health. And when you're making your choice around what type of salt to choose, you have options out there, but just ask yourself, are other options able to check the boxes the same way that Baja Gold can? And I did this for us personally. I'm really adamant about trying to find clean food sources. And so that's ultimately what led me down the road of C90 and then coming into Baja Gold and into this whole conversation with you. And I just wanted to share our experience. So just do your due diligence, and I think what you'll ultimately find is coming back to Baja Gold. Baja Gold is available in a few different options. You can see we've got a relatively large bag here. This is called fine grind. I tend to think that, with this, you've probably got a little bit of larger salt crystals in there. Whereas I noticed when I grabbed this smaller bag, this feels like what you would get in a salt shaker. If you use this, I actually prefer the larger one with a little bit of the size of the salt crystals is still present. You can still actually see a crystal there. Whereas my wife tends to prefer the really fine ground. So you're gonna have your preference on that. Just go with whatever works for you. There's even a soak option on this if you wanna soak in a salt bath. And then in those scenarios, like right now, I told you we're in early summer. Early summer is when hay season for us is just starting to ramp up and take off. And down in South Texas, you can imagine trying to handle square bales of hay, small square bales this time of year, which is typically what we use first. It gets hot. We're losing a lot of electrolytes. We are sweating. Our shirts will be just wet within an hour, maybe not even, of being outside working. And so these liquid ocean minerals, I showed you the new ones here, the older one that we still have. These work great as just a quick replacement. So if you're a person who has more of an athletic, you're more athletic, this may be something you want to keep around, especially if you're out working in hot days. Have you ever tried Baja Gold or C90? Well, if you have, go ahead and tell us down in the comments what your experiences with it has been and why you decided to use Baja Gold. compared to the other options that are out there. And if you're looking at this and thinking, you know what, I think I want to give that source of sea salt a try, well, take a look at the link down in the description below. I've got a discount code for you down there where you can get 10% off on your next option or on your next purchase. And if this level of transparency is something that you're interested in, you want this, not just when it comes to salt, but across the board, and you're trying to make the best choices out there, well, I've got a video here for you that looks at Butcher Box versus Good Rancher. Oh, and there's a third choice in there that you probably haven't even thought about when it comes to transparency in your food. So go ahead and check that video out, get up to speed on that as well.